Pushkin's works have a special significance for Russian people. Probably no other author's works reflect the Russian spirit so fully. The fairy tale about the dead princess and the 7 Bogatyrs, written by Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin in Boldino in 1833, is no exception. However, it's time for us to begin, since I have prepared a story and I'm joking quite a bit, making you wait in vain. Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin, The Little House in Kolomna, 21st octave. The Tsarina symbolizes pre-Christian culture. The Tsarina sat alone by the window waiting for him. She waits and waits, from morning till night, gazing into the field. Her eyes ache from looking from the white dawn till night, but she cannot see her dear friend. All she sees is the blizzard swirling, snow falling onto the fields, and the whole earth is covered in white. As with many Alexander Pushkin works, we see the queen as a symbol of pre-Christian culture, and perhaps of the ruling elite, which from the moment Apostle Andrei presented them with an ultimatum, was unable for 9 months, by our reckoning, centuries, to give birth to a concept of governing society. It was only after the 9th century that pre-Christian culture and the priestly class allowed the people to live independently, and they themselves left this world and ceased to exist as a social phenomenon. The Tsar, by contrast, symbolizes well-intentioned state administrative structures, but lacks real power. A sacred place is never left empty. The Tsar mourned for a long time, but he was only human. A year went by like a dream, and the Tsar remarried. The new Tsarina represents biblical culture, meaning there was a shift from one pre-Christian culture to another, biblical one. The truth, they say, after all, the young woman really was a Tsarina, tall, slender, fair, and she had both intelligence and charm, but she was also proud, stubborn, willful, and jealous. The new Tsarina captivated everyone with her beauty. It brings to mind the stories about how Vladimir adopted orthodoxy, only for her looks, not her real self. So, the well-intentioned governing structures of Rus, the princely boyar corporation, were themselves conceptually illiterate just like today, and got entangled in the biblical concept and ideology of orthodoxy. There is a mirror, the noosphere. As a dowry, it was given a little mirror. The mirror had one property: it could speak. In our understanding, the mirror is the noosphere of planet Earth, which every person is connected to and from which they draw information. Everything that happens on Earth is reflected in it, and nothing can be hidden from it. With it alone, she was good-natured and cheerful, joked with it kindly, and, admiring herself, said, "Mirror, mirror, tell me the whole truth. Am I the fairest, the rosiest, and the whitest in the world?" The mirror would reply, "You are certainly the fairest, the most rosy and whitest. You are the queen." She would laugh, shrug her shoulders, wink her eyes, snap her fingers, and spin around with her hands on her hips, proudly looking into the mirror. The young Tsarevna is like a crowd growing into a people, but the young Tsarevna, quietly blossoming, meanwhile grew and grew, rose up and bloomed. Fair-faced, black-browed and gentle, such was she, and Prince Yelisey the matchmaker was found as her suitor. The Tsar arrived and gave his word, and the dowry was ready. 7 merchant towns, up to 140 caroms gathered for the bridal shower. So the Tsarina, dressing up in front of her little mirror, spoke to it. "Yal, tell me, who is the fairest, the most rosy, and the whitest of all?" What does the little mirror say in response? "You're beautiful, but the Tsarevna is the fairest, most rosy, and whitest of all." The Tsarina jumps back, waves, slaps the mirror with her heel, and stomps her foot. "Ah, you wretched glass, you're lying to spite me. How can she compare to me? I'll put her in her place. See how she's grown up, and no wonder she's so fair." Her pregnant mother just sat and gazed at the snow. "But how can she be more lovely than me in every way? Admit it, I'm the fairest of all. Search the kingdom or the world, no one equals me, right?" What does the mirror reply? The queen remains the fairest and most beautiful. And by receiving feedback through the noosphere, she found out that the crowd, in accordance with the law of time, began to mature from an infantile state and gradually started turning into a people. This meant that over time, the people would replace her, leading to a new human culture. The Tsarevna would become queen. And she decided to get rid of her. There was nothing else she could do. Filled with dark envy, she threw the little mirror under the bench and called her servant girl over. Then came the instructions. Who can handle an angry woman? There's no arguing with the princess. The servant girl took her deep into the forest, and the princess, realizing the danger, was terrified. She begged, "What have I done? Please don't kill me. If I become queen, I'll reward you." The people, acting as a crowd, couldn't recognize the coming danger in advance and still ended up in the dense forest. Who is the servant girl? That question remains open. She loved her, didn't harm or restrain her, let her go saying, "Don't worry, God be with you," then went home. What did the queen say to her? "Where is the beautiful maiden?" "She is standing alone in the forest," she replied. With her elbows tightly bound, falling into the beast's claws will make her suffering brief and death easier. Rumor is the media, the mass media, and rumor began to spread loudly. The Tsar's daughter has disappeared, the poor Tsar grieves for her, and Prince Yelisey, after praying earnestly to God, sets out on a journey for the beautiful soul for his bride. Young Prince Yelisey is the thinking part of the people. Or who is Prince Yelisey? Knowing the strong symbolism in Pushkin's works, it is logical to assume that he is the most thoughtful part of the people who has taken responsibility for them. In any case, in order to liberate the people, it, like the people themselves, will have to go through a process of increasing its own level of understanding and entering into conceptual management of civilization. The question remains open. Why is he a prince? Perhaps the word king comes from the ancient Germanic Karls, which means a free man. But the young bride, wandering before dawn in the forest, kept walking and found a tower. The dog Zalaya ran up to meet her and fell silent, playing at the gates. She entered the courtyard. Silence. The dog runs after her, nuzzling, and the princess, making her way, went up the porch and took hold of the ring. The door opened quietly and the princess was inside. Bright chamber with carpeted benches, icons overhead, a wooden oak table, and a stove with a tiled sleeping platform. The girl sees that good people live here. She knows she won't be offended, but at the same time, no one is in sight. The princess walked around the house, put everything in order, tidied up, lit a candle for God, heated the stove warmly in the chamber, climbed up, and quietly lay down. As lunch hour neared, a sound came from the yard. 7 Bogatyrs entered, 7 ruddy-mustached men. The eldest said, "What a wonder, everything is so clean and beautiful. Who tidied up the tower and waited for the owners?" Who are these 7 Bogatyrs and with whom did the young Tsarevna live in the forest? The question remains unanswered. And what do you think, our readers? Write in the comments. Christian images, a biblical project. Terem, a large dwelling, the hosts serve alcohol. If we evaluate the next fragment, then perhaps the 7 Bogatyrs represent the state power of Rus and its key rulers. Days pass, and the young princess remains in the forest, never bored with the 7 Bogatyrs. Before dawn, the brothers ride out together to hunt grey ducks and have some fun with their right hand. However, the government would still like to form an alliance with the people and put an end to the unrest. The brothers fell for the maiden and approached her in the Svetlitsa. At dawn, all 7 arrived. The eldest said, "Maiden, you are like a sister to us. There are 7 of us, and we all love you as ourselves. We would gladly take you as our own." "That's impossible. Please decide, be a wife to only one of us." But she replies that she already has a betrothed. By this, the young Tsarevna, the future people, says that she is destined for the one who will gain conceptual power. The brothers stood silently for a moment and scratched their heads. "It's no sin to ask, forgive us," said the eldest, bowing. Meanwhile, the evil queen couldn't forgive the Tsarevna and sulked at her mirror for a long time. Eventually, she fetched the mirror and, sitting before it, forgot her anger. And then it turns out that the young queen is still alive, and the evil queen either forced the same servant girl or sent some new character, an old woman, to kill the young Tsarevna. One day, as the young Tsarevna spun yarn by the window waiting for her brothers, the dog suddenly barked angrily under the porch. and the girl sees a poor nun walking around the yard, driving the dog away with her cane. Wait, she fed the old woman some bread. The old woman took the bread and giving thanks said, "God bless you, here, take this as a reward." And to the Tsarevna, a ripe young golden apple flew straight to her. The dog jumped and yelped, but the Tsarevna caught it with both hands just for fun. "Eat the apple, my dear. Thank you for the meal," the old woman said, bowed, and disappeared. Neither the servant girl nor the nun can harm the Tsarevna by God's will. God bless you. Let's take a closer look. Actually, the dog looks just like Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin himself. What was the poet's message? What process was he trying to prevent, just like the dog tried to stop someone from eating the poisoned apple? From the princess, the dog runs out onto the porch and looks at her pitifully, howling menacingly, as if the dog's heart is aching, as if he wants to say to her, "Stop petting him with your gentle hand. What is it, my dear? What's wrong with you? Lie down." She entered the room, locked the door quietly, sat by the window spinning, waited for the owners, and looked around at everything, including the ripe, juicy apple. She ate the apple, and then under the icons, she laid her head on the bench and became quiet and still. The bitten apple is not only a symbol of the Apple Corporation, but also of the West as a whole, poisoned by the venom of Western culture, blocking the development of each person's cognitive and creative potential. Alexander Sergeyevich metaphorically conveyed to us that he took the blow of this culture upon himself. He established the foundations of modern Russian language and culture, distinct from the biblical version. Before the dead Tsarevna, the grieving brothers bowed, recited Saint Slavka's prayer, dressed her, and prepared to bury her. They changed their minds. She lay there quietly and fresh, like under sleep's wing, but wasn't breathing. They waited 3 days, but she didn't wake. After the sad ritual, they placed the young Tsarevna in a crystal coffin and carried it as a crowd to the empty mountain, and at noon they carefully fastened her coffin to 6 pillars with iron chains and fenced it with a grate. The Tsarevna fell asleep poisoned by the venom of biblical culture until Prince Yelisey awakens her from her slumber. That day, the queen, upset by the good news, secretly waited for her mirror and asked, "Mirror, who is the fairest, most rosy, and whitest of all?" And she heard in response, "You, queen, without a doubt are the fairest, the most rosy, and the whitest in the world." At that time, Prince Yelisey returns to his bride and does not find her. "Our son, you cross the sky year-round, bringing both winter's warmth and spring, seeing us all below. Or will you refuse to answer me? Have you not seen anywhere in the world the young princess? I am her suitor, Light. Are you mine, Red Sun?" It replied, "I haven't seen the princess. She must no longer be alive unless my neighbor the moon has met her somewhere or noticed her trace." It should be said that all these drawings made by Pushkin are shaded with secret writing. These are the obvious words here, some are in the sunlight, but if you take all this apart, and Valery Chudinov has a book that analyzes the secret writings of Pushkin. Many people avoid those with conceptual authority who haven't advanced based on their level of understanding. To them, Yelisey's questions are complicated or these searches seem silly and ridiculous. What about those who turn away out of fear for themselves and their future? The red sun is also a symbol for reflection. It could be associated with the ancient symbolism of sun-worshipping societies, from which the mythology of many orders and part of the mythology of historically established Christianity grew. Yelisey asks him in vain. He has long ceased to distinguish the light of truth and cannot tell Yelisey where to go. Then he asks the moon. The most direct association is that the bright moon represents historically established Islam and the surrounding orders, which are just like the orders of historically established Christianity. They follow rituals but lack a method for knowledge and creativity, and it can't tell Yelisey where to look for his bride. Historically established Islam suggests whom to ask. Maybe the wind knows the way. What do you think, readers? Then Yelisey asks the wind. The wild wind replies, "Over there beyond the river, quietly, gently, there is a tall mountain and in it a deep burrow. In that dark burrow, a crystal coffin hangs on chains between pillars. With no one nearby, inside your bride lies alone." What social phenomenon is this? The wind who fears only God. Maybe we should recall two other works by Pushkin here. The Magi fear no rulers and do not need a prince's gift. Their prophetic speech is honest, free, and aligns with heaven's will. The second one. But suddenly a familiar voice is heard, the voice of the kindly Finn. "Take heart, prince, and set out on your way back with the sleeping Lyudmila. Fill your heart with new strength. Be faithful to love and honor. The thunder of heaven will strike down evil, and silence will reign. And in bright Kiev, the princess will awaken from her enchanted sleep before Vladimir, the wind." These could be Russian theology bearers who, living among the people, know everything about everyone. Here, the Kaliki Perehozhi come to mind, those not bound by any particular ritualism that clouds the eyes and mind, that is, the bearers of ancient Slavic Aryan knowledge. They showed Yelisey the direct path. Unlike in Ruslan and Lyudmila, they don't say how to revive the princess, only show the way. Could the wind actually be God in disguise? The wind, the prince ran farther, wept, and visited the empty place to see his beautiful bride again. Ivan reached the grave of his beloved bride. He struck with all his might, the coffin broke, the maiden suddenly came to life, looked around with astonished eyes, and swaying over the chains sighed and said, "How long I have slept? Yelisey revives the princess. Since during his search he rose to the level of conceptual power, the conceptually powerful part of society unites with the people. During the conversation, the level of conceptual literacy in society increases, and together they begin to govern civilization." People watch in amazement at what happened to them during biblical captivity. At home, with nothing to do at that time, the wicked stepmother sat in front of her mirror and spoke to it, saying, "Am I the fairest, the most rosy, and the whitest of all?" She heard in response, "You are beautiful." No doubt, but the Tsarevna is still the fairest of all, more rosy and whiter. The wicked stepmother, jumping up, smashed the mirror on the floor, ran out the door, and went straight ahead and met Tsarevna. Then grief overtook her, and the queen died. A new humane concept is coming into full force in the world, while the old concept is trying to run away from the new one. There's nowhere to run. Human civilization has changed. The old concept's deception no longer works and is dying. As soon as it was buried, a wedding was immediately held, and Yelisey Subdietry married his bride. No one had ever seen such a feast. I was there, drank mead and beer, but only got my mustache wet. The year 1833. The Tsarevna and Yelisey together, that is the future of Russian culture, and God is with them. It's quite possible that Pushkin foresaw all of this. And right now, we are entering this very era when everything is supposed to happen, when the Russian people must awaken from their slumber and gain this conceptual power. To be continued if, of course, together we decipher the matrix of this fairy tale in even more detail. Share your thoughts in the comments.